welcome to a News Game Plus. It's a very musical now. We've made a few adjustments to our studio. I'm Dermy, and I'm here with a man who's slowly watching his Hot 30 Under 30 drift away into the rear vision mirror.
It's not even drifting. It's 100% gone now. I can't even
Yeah, old man, New Game Plus executive producer, and newly 40-year-old Jason O'Callaghan.
That is correct. Newly 40 is correct. That was why you haven't heard from us for a while. We did go away, and we couldn't really find a good solution while I was over there.
Turned 40 in Japan. I actually recently also had birthday. I turned 56, which in every area both of us grew up in, different areas of the world. That's I could be a dad.
This has been the long-standing joke with your kids.
16.
As I say to them, I was like, yeah, like we're over in Japan. Campbell's 17, the girl's 19. I said to them, like, I was 39 at the time. I said I could easily be your dad, and then your dad could easily be my dad.
I could be the grandpa.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. So it's like there's that generational gap. We don't discriminate here at New Game Plus.
Yeah. Oh, well, and they can pull you're not my real dad.
That's true. That's true.
I'm sure my daughter thinks of that a few times. So anyway.
But yeah, no, Japan was interesting. This trip was it was a kind of a mixture of the two. I went to, obviously you've been over there in winter, so you know what.
I've been there when it's been hot and when it's been cold, but not snowy.
No. No, you had snow in Tokyo.
No, I think we left just before.
That's
like a couple of days. I wanted snow. I've always wanted. I've been to snow, but I don't find snow exciting.
Yeah, gotcha.
I've had friends that were big into skiing, and so I've gone with them, and I just don't find it interesting. But I always wanted to go somewhere where I was in a town and it snowed and it was all outside, and we just missed it in Tokyo.
Yeah. That is true. That is 100% an accurate representation of what happened.
We got an earthquake. That was good. So we got the.
You did get a little earthquake. That's right. It was someone that woke us up, wasn't it? Or was that a different one?
No, actually, at that one point you were staying somewhere. You'd gone off somewhere else for a few days, and we were in the hotel room alone.
That's right. Yeah.
It all started shaking, and we panicked, and we ran outside with, should we go grab the kids? Thought, oh no, it's an earthquake. Went outside, everyone's just walking around like that just happens every day.
Literally. I mean, if the Japanese aren't freaking out, you just don't freak out. Like
very durable people.
Yeah. Well, it's very hard. I mean, that country's been trying to shake them off their back for how long now?
You can see why they terrorized half the world for a long time. Hey, actually, I'm going to be controversial.
Well, here we go.
I'm going to throw some people listening and going to get very upset. You know how we go to Japan and we love the place, right? And a lot of people go there, and heaps of people I know who are normies go there and they come back. It's wonderful, the transport. The culture's nice.
You don't have to be a weeb to appreciate it for what it is.
But weebs especially do, right? So anime and your video game culture and that. And so many people come back just really, really loving the place. And so it kind of makes me ask, our grandfathers went to a lot of trouble to not be ruled by Japan. Did we really lose?
So I think this is okay. We're going to do our usual what's wrong with US cultural hegemony, right? And so
would we have been better off if we just went, yeah, right?
I don't think so. I mean, you've seen the kind of latent racism that does exist in their society. They are a monoculture. People
like I haven't seen that anywhere else.
No.
I lived for a little while in Singapore.
Yeah, that's right.
I've seen racism.
That's kind of the two prong there, right? So the first one is Australia is considered a white country, white Western country. I think the English population is now 57%. The Irish population is 11%.
In Australia.
Yes,
there's a lot of us.
Yes, so that's about 65 odd % of the population. So that's considered a white majority, which it is. Then it's about 10%.
We weren't white originally.
No, the Irish weren't, and the
Italians we had to earn our whiteness.
Well, I mean,
Italians did too.
We've had this conversation about chattel slavery and all that kind of stuff.
But anyway,
so I don't think the Japanese are 94% Japanese. Then it's like 3% Korean, and then it's the rest, right? So it's like less than 10% of the population is considered, gaijin, foreigner. And so I don't think that would have been much better. I mean, they know the quality of our, working on train lines because they, worked their grandfathers literally to death on it.
Mm.
And so I don't think they would have been stopped. I think eventually they would have retreated. I think we didn't have to necessarily drop the bombs on them. I think that was a show of force for the USSR. That's a controversial topic, and the Americans don't like it.
Oh, the Yanks just wanted to see what it could do as well.
Yeah.
They did drop a lot of recording equipment with the bomb.
And they wouldn't have, there's no way they wouldn't have done that in Germany, is all I'll say, because of the potential for fallout.
They just firebomb the hell out of
it. Out of Dresden, right? Yeah. I mean, that in itself is, anyone who's read Vonnegut will know that one.
It's only a war crime if the losers do it.
Correct. And then the second part of that is, every other Asian nation, I mean, the Singaporeans are perhaps the most racist, like out there. Like, and I'm not singling them out because every country has their pockets, but people talk about casual racism in Australia. I think casual racism in Singapore is,
I'd say, they're very nationalistic.
Yes,
from what I saw when I was there, and I wasn't a target, but I did get called round eye a lot, a white fella, which I thought was funny. It didn't bother me, but it's funny.
And again, that's what I say. That it's generally done more casually, but there are definite divides in that town. Like when you're in India town, and when you're in China.
Yeah, the Indians and the Malays and that had a different. Yeah. Anyway,
the only people who catch the trains are the Malaysians and the Indians, right? That was the old joke, the old stereotype.
Anyway. So so it would have been. I was wondering.
I think more than anything,
would we have been an anime dominated high speed rail country if we had a lot?
No, I think
lost.
I mean, we for simple,
or would we have just been
the simple fact of I wouldn't be here because Pop never would have come over from Ireland, that kind of thing. So quite literally. Doesn't
he like anime?
But no, it is always interesting to think of like alternate history like that. But I mean that after 43, the back was broken. They couldn't have potentially. They were just trying to eke out a conditional surrender. That was that was what the kamikaze was about. Literally just try and delay as long as possible. I mean, think of the nationalistic fervor. You know what I mean? Like,
nationalism, but the risk of being like a Ben Shapiro or something. Does an ethno-state produce?
Yeah, I mean, by virtue, right? Like, I mean, and this is always the thing. I think people outside of Japan don't understand with the Abe situation. Abe's ties to Moritomo Gakuen, which was the school that the Japanese polity, like the actual federal government, sold a bunch of land to them, and they're part of Nippon Kaigi. Nippon Kaigi being like a real hardcore Japan for Japanese only kind of institution. Then their connections to the what are they called? We call them the Moonies, the Unification Church.
The Mooney,
the Unification Church, and that was what got Abe shot in the back. Was his that guy's mother had lost all her money to the Unification Church. He'd lost his inheritance. He'd lost everything, and so. Ever the industrious people, he made a slap gun, and Abe got two loads of buckshot in the back, and that was the end of Abe.
Well, it's just wild. Our grandparents spent a lot of effort, and now we all go over there, and we love the joint.
It is very tough, right? So and obviously, having been to a lot of RSLs and having been to a lot of Remembrance Day functions.
Yeah, this podcast when we played in RSLs.
We're coming up on Anzac Day, so it's kind of poignant, but. I'll never correct the record. Like you can't hold that against the old ones. Like it's unfortunate to hear, but you just can't deny their lived experience of absolute abject horror. So it's really tough to reconcile that sometimes with the Japan we know now, and obviously it still has a lot of its own unique problems and stuff like that, versus the Japan that terrorized the Southeast Asia.
Well, they terrorized half the world very effectively for a long time, even China and that, which had a lot more people.
Anyway, and then all it took was one set of Trump tariffs, and now you've got South Korea, China, and Japan talking about unifying as a trade bloc. That's all it took.
Yeah, the three countries that maybe hate each other most of any group
are united on the one thing. Gong he fachai.
I'm very much enjoying this season of America. It's good fun. It's what I always wanted.
Everyone's like Fonzie jumping the shark was the worst moment in TV. I'm like, no one's competing. We just can't jump the shark.
This is fan fiction for me. This is I told you I was happy to see. The world needs to be free, but this podcast has taken a turn.
I was like, is this a video game podcast? I was going to talk about video games in Japan, and you derailed us for 8 minutes.
Just sort of throw it there. I mean,
we're not known for breaking off into politics.
Everyone goes to Japan and loves a joint, and we were fighting like less than 100 years ago to not be them.
Yeah. Well, I don't mean, but you think of it like that. It's the classic rule: 3 generations, right? We've got my fascism like. That's why it's taken hold elsewhere, because we're offering simple solutions to complex problems and complex problems that the rich have given us.
One of the reasons the big wars happen in the early to mid part of every century. But anyway, where are we now?
Anyway, so we are at 10 minutes in. We haven't discussed
talking about. Let's talk. Did you want to talk about the Switch, or did you want anything else in Japan?
I think the big things in Japan that are worth covering are if you get to do Sapporo in the snow one year, do it. Sapporo was amazing. I really loved it. I loved Otaru. I think literally being on the other end of the world. From where we are now, like you're literally on you look out your window, you can see the coastline of Russia, like you can see Vladivostok.
Oh, like Sarah Palin.
Yes, correct. I mean, yes, technically. I mean, don't forget Alaska was a Russian protectorate.
Oh, she did say she can say. I mean, I love the movies, but I don't know.
Yeah,
As a politician.
Anyway, I get that one. But no, it was Otaru was really interesting in that yeah, it is literally ages away from everywhere, but it's got a perfectly functioning train system. And it's interesting to see how I went down to Hakodate, which is like the last town before you go back to the main islands of Japan. So you got Hokkaido as its own thing up the top, and Hakodate was like one of the last holdouts before the Meiji Restoration, before Japan was united under Tokyo's rule, basically. So between it and Sendai was the last of Date Masamune's clan, and Hakodate was the last. Like it was a bunch of I mean, originally it was Ainu people who got wiped out because that's how colonialism works. And then after that, there was a fight to take back Hakodate. And then once they took Hakodate, it was a unified Japan. That was the last kind of holdout was Hakodate. But going into Hakodate, it was like walking to a Dickens novel. Like you can see that it was a whaling town. You can see all like the bays and the
Japan. Japan's very good to the sea life.
Yeah. And they see the
whaling there.
I just like to point out, of course, that under the Wires Act, is it the Wires Act or the Series Act? You cannot bring cetacean life back into Australia. If you as in you can't bring dolphins or whale meat back into Australia. If you bring in cigarettes, if you bring in booze, you might get a little slap.
You shouldn't be able to bring whale meat anywhere.
You might get a little slap, but if you bring it back into Australia, I think it's like a year in jail, potentially a year in jail.
If there's one thing the Japanese can do is leave the whales in the water.
Fuck you dolphin and fuck you whale. No,
leave the dolphin.
The Hakodate did have a lot of whale meat.
I like the anime though.
Yeah, you could purchase whale meat. You could purchase. I guess I'm hitting these hard P's. New microphones. I apologize. Stop doing that. People think something's wrong with their speakers. You could buy whale meat, whale jerky, whale steaks. That was like freezers full of whale steaks. And again, Hakodate just reminded me like being in a Dickens novel. Like if there was ever going to be like a Cthulian breakout in Japan, it would be Hakodate. Like it just felt like 100% that era. Yeah. The 100% that era. Yeah. The docks and
all the wooden docks and
all that for miles as far as the eye could see. And then they have this nice European style fort, right in the middle of town. It was really nice. I really enjoyed it. And then it has the best mascot that I've ever seen in my life.
Is it a whale?
No, it is not a whale. It is. I think it's some kind of whale. Some kind of what's his thing? He's sushi, but he's got he's a mascot. He's like, what is he? He's rice with fish on top of him. But yeah, so that's their mascot. It's fukurinka rice and hokigai clams. It's a clam sushi, and that's their mascot for Hakodate. For that area, yeah, he's great. He's my mate. I've got a photo. I've got this exact photo at this place at this main train station.
Japan's such an amazing place where it can produce like real nice cutesy stuff like Hello Kitty and that.
And then it's sushi hockey, yeah.
That's the most ridiculous horror stuff you see. Yeah, it's just frightening as hell.
Yeah,
and that's one of them.
Yeah, that sushi hockey there. Old mate on his little chair, you get to sit next to him.
Oh, that's much better.
Yeah, so there's a whole line of merch with him. I bought a bunch of it.
So that was from the failed pitch for the Thing 2.
Yeah, quite literally. That was I really enjoyed Hakodate. Sendai was probably the toughest I've ever had it as someone who only speaks a passable amount of Japanese. No one was they assume you're gaijin, so they're not interested. They're going to make you speak Japanese, but if you don't speak the right kind of Japanese, you're gonna struggle. I found Sendai was probably the last one that I really struggled in, and then Kansai we did the Donkey Kong ride, the new Donkey Kong thing, but everything at Universal is a Donkey Kong ride when I get on it. The new Donkey Kong roller coaster was really good. Mario World is really good.
Yeah,
I mean I showed you my cool pen, the Boo pen.
Yes, the one that has the flint in it.
Yeah, the flint in it. Yeah. So it's like the old motorbike. For all the X's and the boomers in the crowd, when you pull it back, it like lights up. Yeah,
you pull that bit of plastic through that has the notches on it.
Yeah,
and it goes.
Yeah, and so Have one of those.
Goes
It's
up
like
bitumen road.
yeah, but it sounds like a boo goes like. It's like, yeah.
Yep.
Good.
So
that was my favorite bit of merch, I would say, for the whole trip.
the pen.
Yeah. But I did buy a lot of merch while I was over there, as always. And then I had my 40th birthday, so now I'm 40.
You're old.
Yeah, that's how it works. And the stories of me. I mean, it was a whole trip was a ruckus. I got to go to Capcom Cup, which was really nice. I was there, and thanks to a client of ours, and they put me up at Capcom Cup in the corporate suites.
Oh.
Sitting down drinking vodka Red Bull, watching the best Street Fighter players in the world was pretty good.
Hashtag.
Yeah. Hashtag games. How is your headset holding up, by the way? Anyway.
Don't tell me my friends.
You've been compromised. We got you.
It's like when the cops offer drugs.
Yeah. Better do it or you're going to get
so that's why I've got a headset.
Yeah. But
actually,
no.
My son's the corrupt one. I'm
yeah.
Goddamn son, he's corrupt video game geno.
As always, go to Japan. It's great. You'll enjoy it. We definitely did. So yeah.
Japan's. We've been there 3 times as well. It's a wonderful place. I was being facetious with did we win or lose?
That's
right.
No, I know.
Everyone loves it when they go there, and it's wild to think that less than 100 years ago.
Imagine saying all these people are going to start going there 30 years ago, let alone 100 years ago.
Yeah, when I was growing up, there was still a lot of, and even I mean now I think the video games and the anime encroaching into Australia there's a crackling sound on this they've loosened things up. But I know when I was growing up, going to Japan was like we knew Japan was technologically advanced.
Technologically advanced. Okay, I'll speak English for you.
I've just gone George W. Bush there, but no. So
this swing.
So we knew that, but the idea of going there on a holiday was absurd. We just knew stuff like their property was expensive, and now it's something that heaps of people are talking about and doing, and every single person that goes there comes back loving the place. I haven't met a single person who's gone to Japan that hasn't come back and gone, I love it. Like, I love the rail. I love how you walk everywhere. The food's nice. So yeah,
you got to talk into it. It's a microphone.
I try not to blow my nose.
Yeah. But that's So your problem is for someone who talks so fucking much, you don't actually project your voice, right?
I actually,
you know how I'm not really in the mic like you were.
I got in the habit of doing that when I was younger, so nobody would overhear me.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's a Gen X trauma. Gen X. Well, welcome to Gen X trauma dump. The episode.
If you went to the schools I did with the Christian Brothers teachers,
how are you, chillblains? You still got them all in one piece? Yeah.
You get whacked with rulers.
Yeah, they're your chillblains. When you get cold and the bits come up in the back of your thing, that's your chillblain.
My sister gets them, and she didn't go to Christian Brothers school. Obviously, being a girl, so she was like,
she's
evil.
She learned to use their fingers really, so
she's also gay, so they wouldn't have doubly not liked her.
That was right. That was my joke. Just ruin it. That's okay.
She's off to hell. But no, so they used to like full on beat us.
Yeah, I believe it. At least they weren't beating you off. I mean, that's always the
that happened to one of the guys there by the graphics teacher who was in our class, and it was wild. Look, it's going to sound really bad, but I was only a young boy at that time. Everybody knew.
Yeah,
and he was picked on, and it was sort of wild to think that there would have been.
Well, you there?
There would have been parents and everything that knew, and it just got overlooked. And it's just, I think of it now, like how that stuff happens, and everybody is aware but just denies it. And I reckon that happens. Anyway, that's a sidetrack from being not close, but seeing that stuff closer.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's another podcast.
And the amount of people who just kind of look the other way on it, unfortunately, and that'll always be, and true believers. I know plenty of true believers who look the other way, and it's just like, ugh.
Because it's everybody's just willingly part of the problem, and they all join in. They don't join in actively, but they join in by being part of the cover up.
I mean, this is we've had this conversation about
this is the dark topic.
Well, I mean, no, I'm bringing it back to video games. That's what I do.
I can talk about this. I can tell you. I won't say exactly what I think, because this is something that probably needs a different forum. But what I saw, people would be quite surprised. I think my interpretation of
it. I think we've mentioned in the past with the kind of death of religion as the central point for people's communities. That's why we're seeing these like real enclaves of online communities. It offers them that collectivism, but it just requires them to drink the Kool-Aid. It requires them to believe what is being said, said to them.
I believe it's something people need, but when the traditional ones have destroyed themselves so comprehensively, when I say traditional ones, it's really only really Catholicism that did that, but it happened in others, obviously. Because and the other problem with Catholicism is the central organisation of it. But the when they do, it does get replaced because people have a need for the same thing. And when you see online movements, they have the same iconography, the same language, even to the point where you see things like remember when Adam Goods was like, booed as a, there were things came out that were like the pictures of him with a halo around his head and stuff. So the religious aspect of all online movements, whether they're attack or defense, they take on the same
iconography and all that.
They take on because people have a need for it. A lot of people do. Not everybody, but most people have a need for it. And without this structure of the traditional ones, they'll find something to replace it. That might even be brands. Online movements are big ones, and we've seen some big online movements in video gaming. And there was religious aspects to that too for some of the people involved.
Yeah, for sure. Well, anyway, moving on to probably one of the most core groups that will never betray their Nintendo Switch 2 got announced finally.
I think it's great that they've I think how I always joke that Nintendo's a bit behind in some areas online, and so they've finally invented the iToy.
And not only they invent the iToy, they invented Discord. Discord didn't exist before.
Chat and Discord. Yeah. Okay, let's structure this a bit better. Everybody's probably seen the switching. Just quickly, your interpretation of it, because I'm going to mention a few things about some of the backward compatibility in the games that I've discovered on that side.
So my thoughts on the big one obviously is the price. I think the core price of the unit itself, I think is fine. You'd say it's expensive, and I think that's a fair criticism, but I think it in and of itself is fine. The iToy is silly. It's just a tie into their Discord app, but because there's no way they were going to let their people loose on Discord, knowing of course that most people would just use Discord.
I think Nintendo runs a risk there with the chat stuff that if Nintendo's image, if that turns into an Xbox Live lobby sort of situation, and it will, because people are people.
People are people, yeah.
And I think that's not good for Nintendo. And so, and I don't think they can moderate it.
Not well enough.
So I would have preferred Nintendo didn't waste time doing that. I like the idea to a degree, but I wish they didn't. Because I only see that as something they'll lose from, and when there will be parents who, in Nintendo's space, aren't ready for this, and they're not ready to have their kids suddenly hear like the N-word scream to their TV. And that sort of stuff's gonna happen. So I think Nintendo's being a little bit naive. But
you remember I told you this story of when I was playing Planet for Neighborville, and you could and the guy had the kid had the Kinect plugged in. And he was talking. His brother had just gone home from university. He was like, "Oh my God, you're back, Jack!" Blah 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 blah. He's like, "Hey, you been, little man?" And they're having a conversation. And I just turned around and said, "Mate, I'm just letting you know we can hear everything. His Kinect mic is on." He's like, "Oh, thanks, mate," and he just turned it off straight away for him.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you do run, and that's why I think their thing is this is the only way we can really mitigate that is to bring it into our own ecosystem. But it's naive to think that it's not going to still occur on their ecosystem.
But then Nintendo then takes sort of like ownership of that, and that's the problem, because then it gets attached to the Nintendo brand.
Yeah.
And I think it was okay for Xbox, and you didn't hear it as much on PlayStation. It was an Xbox. Like,
we've always said how Sony gets away with a lot. I mean, they got away with Yellow Light of Death. They got away with Disc Read Error, and it was only because Xbox had it worse. They had Red Ring of Death, which was worse than Yellow Light of Death. But
it was an Xbox meme, and the Sony Defense Force is very, very active.
Oh yeah.
So look, I think Nintendo though that's an area I would have preferred they put their focus elsewhere. I think these days Discord is a far better option.
Well, they just created Discord though. Look at the interface. Look at everything, right?
Yeah. And good on them because it looks great.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we made the joke. We were watch the direct, and then afterwards we were all in a chat talking, and suddenly we were just looking at it, and it was like, you could 100% see where the inspiration came from.
Yeah, and look, it's great. And look, the camera thing's great. That's iToy Connect sort of thing, and given an extra decade or two of development, it's going to be much better.
Yeah. I mean, you think they just would have bought the Connect license, right? Like,
maybe who knows? They didn't. Yeah. So, didn't the US military get that?
Yeah, they did, I think, and HoloLens as well.
Have you played Fruit Ninja Connect's really cool. You go Yeah, and I'm sure the soldiers now can do that. Over
Whatever anyone's
the Middle East.
yeah. That's why the drones keep missing, because it's not picking up their movements well enough. But the big one was, I remember iToy. Whenever you say iToy, think of the washing windows mini game. I love washing windows.
The iToy was great. I loved it on PlayStation. Yeah. So the price, you mentioned the price, and look, the price is high, but it always is for new consoles. It's always going to be high for this one because they don't want to completely tank Switch sales because there's still got Switches in stock. They still like to sell them. So, I can see how they priced it. Early adopters are going to still buy them. Nobody's going to stop. But the big one is
the game price.
The games. Yeah. And this is a movement that people they've known is coming, and everybody suspected it was going to be Grand Theft Auto 6 that was going to push the price.
I mean, Sony tried. Sony have started doing 120 for their launch titles. They do digital deluxe editions where they add on potions and that kind of thing, or whatever your consumables are in your particular game. And I mean, it doesn't work like that. The asking price for Nintendo games, I think digitally is $10 cheaper, but in disc version is $80 American dollars.
The digital versus physical ones, and I want to mention that in a moment. But is that Stephanie Sterling? Is that Jim Sterling? Yeah, Stephanie Sterling. Had a good video about the correct price for a game if it has any sort of microtransactions is zero.
Yeah.
Because that's where they make the money. So why charge a nominal price up front? Yeah. We'll see how Nintendo goes with this stuff. And
well, I mean, the Nintendo has the advantage of making Nintendo games, right? Like that's their bread and butter. Their Nintendo games are Nintendo games.
So they'll be getting Christmas cards from EA and Activision and Ubisoft. In fact, EA and Activision and Ubisoft, they're going to be more excited by seeing Nintendo open this bidding than a newly divorced dad in Thailand. They're going to be very excited.
It's got to be said, like Marvel Rivals, which is the new Overwatch. Overwatch is dead. Does have the advantage of it is $0 to play, and then you only buy cosmetics, and that's the Dota model, and I can live with that. I can make my peace with them, or a one-off like Smite, for example. Smite had the God pack. You paid once, and that was it. You had every god unlocked, and that I can also live with. If that's the options for monetization, then it's fine. Yeah, don't lean your face on it. Fucking hell.
Oh, sorry, I was nodding off.
And you're breathing into it. Fucking hell.
I'm getting used to this microphone.
Yeah.
New one. Used to the headset. I'm too old to understand these things.
You'll learn Minecraft eventually. You can hear your own voice. That's what I'm saying. You'll have to figure eventually how it works.
Yeah, you're doing the radio voice. I'm doing.
I have the worst voice. I've always said, for someone who's on TV for 450 episodes, I have the worst voice, right? But these microphones are buttery smooth, and even I sound all right.
Yeah, well, let's see where it goes on playback, because I sound like I'm got a sore throat.
Yeah, you always do. Right. But no, the big one is $80 is the thing, and so the other one as well. I mean,
140 odd here, isn't it?
It'll be about 120. I don't think they're going to push past 120. The biggest problem with Nintendo games is they do not go on special. Whereas with Sony games, you'll see them go 3 months later, they'll go on for $70. 6 months later, they'll go on for $50, and you can justify it. But very rarely do Nintendo games go any significant discount?
I mean, Nintendo can do that because, I mean, right now, everyone's going to complain about the price of their games, but the moment Splatoon 4 comes out,
they'll buy it. It's fine.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They'll pay what they have to.
You've got the bundles here are $699 for the standalone, or you've got $769 for...
Yeah, see, that's not outlandish.
No.
I mean, I paid more for that for my Sega Saturn.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so, yeah, it just becomes that conversation of, I think the system, I don't mind the price. I don't mind the price. Like 2 Joy-Cons is $80 still, which is still okay.
The old Joy-Cons will work. So they haven't done an Xbox Series S or X. They haven't abandoned the old controllers.
No. That's incorrect. Well, one abandoned the 360 controller.
Oh, the one that did that.
One controls on S.
Okay, sorry. One.
Come on.
360.
That's fake news.
That's fake news.
Sleep Jeremy with the fake news.
I'm going to do some air dicking now.
Yeah. Some downhill skiing.
So yeah, okay. It was a 360 to Xbox One. Sorry, my mistake. But at least the thing is, Nintendo haven't done that. Your Pro controller and your old Switch controllers will work.
Yes. Switch too. And so that's good at least. However, there are some games from the previous gen that won't work. That anything that requires the IR sensor will not work without old Joy-Cons. So you can still play them, but you need to have old Joy-Cons.
The Labo, which is another really cool idea that sort of came and went.
Yeah. So the Labo VR will not work full stop.
Yep.
Because it won't fit inside the visor, I assume, is the main reason. But any of the other Labos that require the IR sensor, which they basically all do. You need to use old tech. So you can still play them, but you need to have old tech with them. So WarioWare, The latest one that was like smooth moves, you need to use old Joy-Cons for that. You can't use new Joy-Cons. But the design of the new Joy-Cons, it's nice. It's no more the finicky slide up and down.
Yeah.
The buttons,
magnets.
the buttons on the buttons on the top are nice. So like the actual changes to the console, I think were all common sense. There's 2 USB ports now, so you can charge it. Because remember, there was a whole ecosystem there where people were rushing to market to sell stands that could charge because you had to give that kind of 5 centimeter leeway underneath.
Yeah, I bought one that was really cool and blue tacked it to the back.
Yeah.
It's just because you needed more than one port.
Yeah. And so exactly right. And so they've got the 2 on the top now. It is interesting in a post Steam Deck world. I wonder how much that has affected it because it, of course,
Well, the big difference is if you're comparing the Steam Deck to the Switch, obviously you've got Nintendo exclusives, and if you can't live without a Splatoon or an Animal Crossing, then that's a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
But really, the game prices, there's no competition there. On Steam, you can go and buy heaps of games.
Yes.
It's $5, right? So, older games, but they'll still run quite nice. But the Switch 2, you're going to be in this $100 plus game purchasing, which I think, look, people will eventually get used to. But it's going to impact the number of games sold, I suspect.
Yeah, I agree, and I think, I think like I say, I think for the first party games, I think if they do like they had the vouchers, right, where it basically works out to $63 a game. I think people will pay that. I think people will look at that and go, okay, like I don't mind paying, a discounted amount, but I've got to pre-buy 2. That was how it worked. Basically, it was $130, and you had to pre-buy 2 games. And so I think people would look at that and go, that's okay. I don't mind doing that a little bit. But if there's nothing like that or no sales, I think it's going to be a problem later down the track.
Well, Nintendo uses everybody else as the filler for people who want to buy a cheap game. So their games are the expensive ones.
Premium ones,
and everybody else's can put theirs on discount.
That's not their problem,
Yeah, so interesting. They've said that at least in America they're delaying
the launch. Yes,
I
was hinting at that earlier. Yeah, so this is due to the tariffs that are coming back into thing, which are, of course, weren't actually tariffs put on them by different nationalities. And America spent decades pushing out free trade agreements that were to the detriment of other people. And now they're saying now that there's a trade deficit, if you have a trade deficit with America, they're basically slapping a tariff on you. So so for us, for example, that's why ours was only 10% because they have a trade surplus with us. They send us more than we send them.
Yeah.
And so that's why ours is only 10%.
Yeah, we don't. Most of our trade's China. So,
our 2 biggest trading partners are China and Japan. And Japan is 40 something billion a year, and China is 279 billion.
Isn't Japan most of that our gas?
Yeah, well, that's also China, to be fair. And all our coal and all our steel.
Yeah, so.
But no. So it was always that funny thing. When I learned Japanese, I was like, "Why didn't you learn Mandarin?" I'm like, "Well, Japan's still our second biggest trading partner," ignoring, of course, that it's 20% of the trade we do with China. But
look, I think if you were going to learn a language,
Mandarin's
good idea at this point.
So,
I'd also look at Hindi or whatever. I think once India hits its straps at some point, I don't know. I think they're a little bit behind as far as organisation goes, but at some point they'll make China look like
you want to talk about going back to our original topic.
The diaspora for India is massive.
The Hanren have successfully taken over China. Like if you're a mainland Chinese, people assume you're Hanren. You know what I mean? Like a particular type of Chinese, right? Where no more Hokkien, no more the smaller ones. Even Cantonese. Hong Kong as it was is dead. So. Yeah. But with India, you've still got the distinct identities and the distinct populations and all that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit harder to unite the tribes, if you will.
And I think the structural issues there, they're a little bit harder for them to overcome.
Yes.
But once they do, like I said, they've got such an enormous community everywhere else all over the world.
And we've
make China look
it's the same thing with China. We've literally educated however many hundreds of thousands of them and sent them back. You know what I mean?
That's my wife's conspiracy theory about why they're cancelling overseas students.
Is to
stop
the brain drain.
them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, stop.
That's a reverse. There's always been the reverse colonialism argument. We take the best and brightest, and then those people can't help their own people. And if we're looking at it from that nationalistic point of view, that's always been the reverse colonialism, colonialism by osmosis almost.
Yep. Hey, now the game's about. Since we're talking about games, we sidetracked.
Speaking of, I've been playing Pikmin 4. Funnily enough, and that's colonialism just straight up. Yeah.
it's interstellar.
Well, I mean, you think,
or is it on Earth?
Is Pikmin on Earth? Well, I mean, it's Earth adjacent because they find a lot of random Earthy and stuff,
like cans and stuff.
Yeah, so this is always the thing with Pikmin. I mean, Nintendo games are not known for being particularly controversial, but they've covered some controversial topics. They've covered the end of the world and the fighting between the cephalopod races, not cephalopods. What are they? What are octopuses, octopodes, and
the
squids,
octopi?
Yeah, no, octopode, but that's okay.
I don't know, they're squishy.
And so octopus versus squid, and so
they're cephalopods.
Are they cephalopods? They are, aren't they? I'm thinking cephalopod.
Jamie, bring
no,
that up.
No, cephalopod is correct because cetacean is what I was getting mixed up with, which is whale and dolphin. So cetaceous life is mammals in the sea, and cephalopod is cuttlefish, squid, and octopus. I mean, he's breaking out his Burberry phone here. He's clickety clacking in the background trying to find this information.
I can't spell cephalopod.
It's CEPH.
Look, it's pictures of octopuses. I can't read it.
Okay, all right. Hey, can you see it on that screen? Anyway,
what?
No. So like that's covering end of the world, and then literally Salmon Run is like salmon genocide. He's stealing their babies, like murdering them en masse and stealing their babies. So it's
best you don't think too hard about things.
Yeah, well, I mean, you say that, but
the button.
I don't need to. I'm not you. I'm not coughing into the mic.
I got my.
Yeah, I literally turned my head halfway across the room. That's all right. Doesn't matter.
Anyway, so now on the Switch games, there was. Oh, now I've done it. So on the Switch games,
yeah.
Now they have the digital ones were $10 cheaper, America cheaper than the physical ones. Now here's something. You could also get carts that I think they're special red versions, and you put them in, and they're just download codes. So they're kind of know there's no game on the cart.
I'm pretty sure that's just the red ones are what the Switch 2 ones look like now.
Okay. Oh, okay. I saw a picture.
So you're thinking of? Are you thinking of the way that Switch 1 is doing download, like the you can lend out your games, your digital games to people?
No. The digital passes, that's coming to Switch 1 as well. That's a neat idea, right?
As someone who runs events, it's perfect for my life. Is also
Don Matrick would be really excited to see that.
Right, but
that's made Don Matrick's day.
Well, so for me, like we have all these consoles and stuff. We have to think. So if we want to, let's say I want to have Overcooked on a system, but also then want to run Halo on that same system. Well, I then have to buy another copy of Overcooked. Whereas now I could potentially go, cool, I'm going to loan this copy of Overcooked. I use Overcooked as an example. I don't know if it's in this program. I'll use my Mario Kart Jamboree. I could lend this.
I think they're all in this. I think it's all games.
I could lend this copy of Mario Kart Jamboree to my second unit, and that second unit can then loan that for 2 weeks and then play that game while I'm using it for something else. So for my personal thing where it's like renting for events, it's the best.
Yeah,
the best.
I think it's a neat idea generally. I think they've also done it because they know there's going to be people with a Switch 1 and Switch 2.
And kids and all that kind of stuff, and you're going to have multiple units in a house, all that kind of thing.
Okay, now the backward compatibility. Now, historically, backward compatibility has involved having a system on a chip, basically for the old. So the PS2 effectively had a PS1.
PS3 original gen had one, and then it went to hardware.
PS2, the PS1 was actually in the
it was a whole
the controller. Yeah. It was in the controller plug. But anyway, or something along those lines. And so typically, now in the Switch 2, it's different because the Switch 2 hardware is actually completely incompatible at a hardware level with Switch 1. So Switch 1 games are being effectively emulated on the Switch 2, which means the Switch 2's got a fair bit of horsepower in there.
Well, that was my takeaway from that, because there is a list of games that either don't boot and they're trying to figure it out, or have what's the word I'm thinking of? Issues with like the game, like there's bugs and issues with the games, but they've made a list of those games. Anything that they're aware of has been listed in that thing. There's not many really big games that are affected by it, but yes, they are basically straight up emulating in a similar way that Microsoft did.
Yeah, like Microsoft did with the Xbox 360 games, where you effectively put the disc in and then download
the emulated version.
Compile. And in fact, you see you can get a compiler for Xbox 360 games to compile on the PC.
I did see that.
I haven't played
that was someone reverse hacked something, and now basically any Xbox 360 game will play on PC.
Yeah, you need a little bit of modification. But now the other one is there's games, they were advertising games or announcing games that were Switch 2 enhanced versions of Switch 1 games, like Metroid, Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild,
Apparently, it turns out they'll be the Switch one. The Switch 2 cart will have the Switch 1 version on the cart,
Yeah.
and it will automatically download
Include the
patch.
upgrade pass, yeah. The upgrade pack.
Yeah, so there was mention of your download, but maybe it's on the cart. But it'll have basically it's an upgrade. So the enhanced was Switch 2 games. Effectively, you're buying the Switch 1 game with a patch,
which is similar to how it works on PlayStation. It asks you if you want to download the PS4 version or the PS5 version, and then you just go from there. So some games require you to pay that extra for the stuff on Sony, and I wouldn't be surprised. I think the price for those is $20 for the upgrade, for the paid upgrade, the premium upgrade ones. Whereas there are some games which are just receiving patches which will improve their performance on Switch 2.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Although I don't think 99% of the people buying are going to care, but that's how it's all set up. So the fact that it's actually straight up emulating the Switch when it does backward,
means it's got a bit heft. We don't, and
it's got some process.
And the dock has a proper fan this time.
Yeah,
so that's a big thing as well. So
I never found that the dock. My dock never got hot.
No, but it also didn't really improve the performance by that much, right? Yeah, that's the big one, right? It was like, well, yeah, you can go bigger on TV, and I'm like, yeah, maybe because it's like the way it's processing.
No, it's more that it was throttling it in hand.
Yes,
yeah, but you could get away with it because the screen is smaller. But I remember some of the early leaks for the Switch from Laura Kate Dale, and that I think it was with speculating that the dock was going to have some sort of upscaler in it, but it wasn't really. It was just the handheld was being
nerfed. Yeah. And so that is interesting because we always, I'm still of the opinion that the OLED was meant to be a Switch 2, not a Switch 2, a new Switch, like basically a slight mid-gen upgrade. With it was slightly faster, and technically the OLED is slightly faster, but that's just efficiencies from smaller chipsets and stuff like that. So it was never enough to really consider it a performance boost outside of just pure hardware addition. But yeah,
like the new 3DS. Remember they put out the 3DS that was powerful. And there were some games that only ran on the new 3DS, like the 3DS Minecraft.
That's exactly what I'm thinking of. Like that's very much what I'm thinking of. So, and so I think overall, I'm kind of happy with what they're doing with the Switch. I think a lot of the choices they make are smart. The DS download play version is very good because I love playing Clubhouse games. And the problem with Clubhouse games is because you're using the one screen, anything that requires you to say hold a hand of cards or something like that was nearly impossible. But now Clubhouse games will allow you to do DS download play or whatever their version, whatever they're calling it nowadays, and so they can download enough of the game to play from your system, if that makes sense. So if you're playing multiplayer, you can play, say, 4 people playing poker from one game cartridge. They download it off you. You used to be able to do it for Mario Kart.
Nice.
So Mario Kart 7, I think it was 7. Basically, everyone played a Shy Guy because if you were playing DS download play, that was what you lost. You lost the ability to pick a character.
That softens the game pricing. If you've got a game where you can share it with a few people, that does soften the price.
Yeah, while you're in the room with them. So obviously it's not the same thing as thing. But yeah, for Clubhouse games, I always love playing Hanafuda, which is Koi Koi.
Yep.
And you just couldn't do it because you have to either play with someone else on this. And obviously, if they own a copy of it, you could always do that. But that was always annoying. It was like, how many people have Clubhouse games? Whereas if I could have just sent it to them and said, yo, jump on download play, I'll send it over, and then we'll just play a game of Hanafuda. It's like takes 2 seconds or easy peasy. And so it seems like they're doing a lot of that connectivity from Switch to Switch, which is very much a DS thing. And I love that about the DS. That was one of the things I really miss about the DS is, Street Pass and Miitopias and all that kind of stuff.
Picto Chat. Was that the DS?
That was that was original DS, yeah.
Yeah, no, my kids love that. They were only little, but you can imagine what that's
nowadays. Yeah, exactly. And we do live in that world now.
Just put in an emoji for a dick. Yeah, save everybody the drawing.
It's not that humanity was any less. Was any more innocent back in those days? It was just that it was less.
Oh no,
less extreme.
I guarantee when I was growing up, we were not. We just had different ways.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
If we had online lobbies, then actually, you know what? I'm going to go to limb and say, if you had online lobbies when
lead was in the petrol,
if you in the 1950s and 60s, before my time, but when the boomers were at their peak, like being outright racist. Can you imagine online lobbies back then if you were a black person hopping on?
Yeah.
Oh my God. So yeah, I don't think we're worse. I don't think we're a lot better, but
yeah.
Anyway, so that's a Nintendo Switch. I think overall, Look, the game prices people are going to complain about. I think that, but they'll go, and when they want a cheap game, they'll do like they do now, and they'll go buy like a $10 or $20 indie sort
Yeah.
of game or a game.
I still do that sometimes. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I want a
Yeah.
palate cleanse in between. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody does, and that's why they do it. That's why Nintendo makes everybody else like take the hit,
Yeah.
so that they can sell their stuff. So I think that's going to happen. I think, look, Nintendo still only does their major releases every couple of months anyway, so it's not like you have to buy a Splatoon and a Animal Crossing that all the time. So I think the game prices aren't going to hurt as much as people think, although it will. I think Nintendo might even, they'll be assessing how the sales go.
I wonder if they do. I mean, they did it for GameCube era. I mean, obviously, $100 Australian in 1997 when the or 1998, sorry, when the N64 came out.
Really?
Was a lot of money.
You buy a house for that much back
$100 was a load of money, and then they tried 120 for the GameCube era, and that lasted Resident Evil and one other game, and that was it. That was back down to 100 then.
You might find a couple of tiers. So your Mario games 120 plus, but
well, I mean,
your Kirby games.
Yeah.
80.
I mean, I think Metroid Dread was cheaper, wasn't it? It was like $40, $50 or something like that.
You might find more staggering the price. Yeah, because they won't.
I think it's also fine if that's their answer to it. I think that's also a thing. You're going to get your money's worth out of a Zelda or a Mario if we're going to play the game. But I still think that it is starting to get up there. If we're
the shareholders and owners of EA and Ubisoft and Activision have just got really excited.
I say of Ubisoft, you mean Tencent? Yeah,
Tencent, yeah, and Tencent owns so many. They're gonna be very excited because they're not gonna have any nuance to the whole game pricing. They're just gonna see Nintendo's up there and they're gonna go, shit, yeah, we weren't part of that. So some of the Nintendo pricing will be interesting to watch, but the impact, and I think this is why a lot of people are really worried, the impact on the pricing from everybody else is going to be the real thing to keep an eye on.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of everybody else, Xbox at the moment had some absolute doozies. You've had Adamfall drop, you've had Avowed drop, you've had South of Midnight comes out this week. Some of their games they've been stewing for a while. If you haven't played Indiana Jones, I still recommend you go play Indiana Jones.
Yep.
They've had an absolute perler of a session. I've been playing a lot of PlayStation because of Helldivers and Monster Hunter Wilds. Tekken just had a new patch. Marvel Rivals just had a new patch. It's a good time to be a gamer. I hate to be that guy, but it's a very good time to be a gamer.
I've been playing heaps of Civilization 4.
4?
Yeah. Well,
you're off 7? Is it 7? What's the deal?
No, look, I haven't done 7. 7's $120 on Steam. I don't know about that. But look, Civ 6, I never really liked. I didn't mind. Civ 5 was okay.
It seemed to be off Civ 6. Like there was a hardcore community that supported it, but compared to 5, it seemed like there was a drop off.
There was some aspects of Civ 6 that were just frustrating. But I think Civ 4 was probably the best of the series, having not played Civ 7, although Civ 7 hasn't had good reviews. So, and there's a bit of an implication with the Civ 7, sort of some of the reviews that, and some of the comments I was seeing, that they've kind of made it for the Switch too, not really for the PC. Because you know the Switch 2,
that is one of the things. Yeah, you can do a mouse control now.
The sideways controller works as a mouse. Now I can't see that being a big deal, but good on them. They've done some different.
Yeah, I agree.
But there is a bit of a sort of like an underlying thing there that maybe Civ 7 was made with the Switch 2 primarily in mind with that sideways controller. A lot of PC gamers don't like it, don't like the interface, don't like how it works. I couldn't say, like I said, $120 is like, now here I am talking game prices for the Nintendo. It's more than I feel like spending on Civ 7. So I've been playing Civ 4. Civ 4 is the best of the series as far as I'm concerned.
Is that the one with Gandhi, the bugged Gandhi?
No, it doesn't seem to have that. No, maybe the Gandhi will nuke you.
Yeah, which was literally his friendship. If his friendship hit 150, it activated a bug where he'd instantly nuke you next turn if you had them.
No, I haven't had that. Civ 4 had you have culture and you can have cities decide to join you. You can send spies over, and that was a mechanic that I enjoyed a lot. It didn't play on I think Civ 5 started introducing the religion, which was in the other Civs, but religion as a thing where you send
in the series and stuff,
and that was sort of like not annoying to play, but annoying to have that played against you. So yeah, Civ 4 is a favorite. But anyway, so I've been playing. I haven't got anywhere near any of the games you said. I've been playing old game.
Yeah. Well, I've been playing a bit of Adamfall, a bit of like even buggy as it is, it's still fun. I've been playing a bit of again lots of Monster Hunter. I'm 100 and something hours into Monster Hunter. And I well and truly cracked 500 on Helldivers now.
Oh, and one for Seffi. If he's
I've been playing a lot of Tekken 8 too. Of all people, play Tekken 8. Yeah.
I put Tekken 3 on my Evercade, and I've been playing a bit of that a lot. And I
Nice.
enjoy that. It's good for button mashing. Seffi, if you're listening, you got to put the Shockwave mod on Command and Conquer Generals. It's the best thing you've ever seen.
Okay.
Trust me, Shockwave mod on Command and Conquer. Another old game thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say another grandpa game thing. As he looks down at his little handheld, where's it, Pocket Neo, whatever they are. Yeah.
Seffi, Shockwave mod on Command and Conquer Generals. You'll love it. Also, my son went and saw the Minecraft movie this evening.
Oh yeah.
With a bunch of his friends. Really enjoyed it. They said it wasn't really Minecraft, but they had a lot of Minecraft references,
which we thought it was always going to be, right? Like, yeah.
I think it's look. It looks like Hollywood at least understood the game. From what they said, at least they understood they had a lot of references, a lot of things to make them happy.
Well, they put Jack Black in, who has no shame. So, and I don't say that in a nasty way, but he's happy to lean into whatever dumb role he's playing.
He's lazy, and I can't. I put him in the same boat as Seth Rogen, and you'll.
I think it's better than Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen is a producer. Thumbs up. Seth Rogen is an actor. Thumbs down.
They're the lazy slobs, and they're everything. Like all the discussions about Hollywood and the sexism. They're the guys that really just shine a light on that, but they don't understand it, and it shits me. And also in the Steve thing for Minecraft, lazy as hell. He didn't shave. He didn't do anything. He just put on.
But he was also playing exactly who they wanted him to play. Like that was what they wanted.
They can want that. But to me, it's lazy. But anyway, I'm not the target for it. The target for it, which was my son, his friends in their 20s, and they said the cinema is full of early 20s people. They all loved it.
We had a glitch on Friday, and a bunch of them saw it literally, and then came to glitch straight afterwards and stayed till
And their take was,
yeah, I mean they seemed to enjoy it.
Yeah,
they knew it was a meme movie going in, so yeah.
I think that's it. Maybe they that age.
They get memes. They get post irony.
Yeah. So as far as they're concerned, if you just keep doing, because my son said that people cheered at some of the references, like when they were falling off a cliff
in Indian Marvel movies, right? Like, yeah.
And he threw a bucket down. He said, "Don't worry." He threw a bucket down. They landed off the cliff and they were safe. Like stuff like that. So they love that.
Yeah.
But that's basically being like member berries.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm member.
Yeah. So that's hilarious. But yeah, apparently it's definitely not awful. And at least if you're 20 something, you'll enjoy it. Though I can tell you that from what I was told.
I'll pull a Dermy. The old movie I watched recently. I saw a double act. So this was at the movies at Cinema Nova. Shout out to Cinema Nova.
Did you watch like Fury Road and Furiosa?
No, I did watch Furiosa.
Cloverfield Paradox.
Furiosa on the plane. But I watched Little Shop of Horrors into The Mask, and
The Mask.
The Little Shop of Horrors had the real ending, not the ending that was in the cinemas. Do you remember Little Shop of Horrors?
I do, but I would have.
Do you remember the ending? And he shocks him, he zaps him, and
I don't remember. Look, I wasn't into it, but I know most people I would have known my age would have done a double of that and Rocky Horror.
So that was what but the problem with Rocky Horror is it's too popular. You couldn't have done a double act of that. You know what I mean? Like
I went and saw that live once, and that was wild.
I've seen it multiple. I'll have to admit this. I saw Craig McLaughlin do Frankenfurter.
That was phenomenal. I went and saw it live in the theater, and most of the crowd was dressed up as Frankenfurter.
Everyone knows the songs. But no, I saw Little Shop of Horrors, and then it was The Mask, and The Mask did not age well, but it was so funny in a post-incel red pill world. Listening, we wonder why millennials and X's are taught to just like pursue girls until they give in. And you watch that movie, and it's not even the worst example, but it was like, oh geez,
that was a Hollywood trope. Yeah, no, absolutely. People are trained, and the Hollywood trope forever was, don't give up. The girl will eventually, no matter who you are, will eventually love you.
I mean, we're persistence hunters, right? It appeals to the ape brain in us. So
yeah, but does it appeal to the hunted?
Not particularly, not at all.
I would have thought hunted doesn't.
Even some of the way it was made very 90s style, like, like when he's doing the reference, like, you remember, like, somebody stop me. Like, that was a meme for years. And then, like, because culture goes so fast, so you look at it, and it felt so tacked on. Like, you could see how it was like a separate shot of that specific.
It was for the ad, though.
Right? And
it wasn't for the meme, it's for the ad.
Yeah.
I'd like to think of all those Jim Carrey movies, because I never really thought he was that great, and I never really liked his movies. Although The Truman Show wasn't genuinely interesting.
I mean, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, but yeah.
Eternal
Sunshine, his best movie, but yeah. Oh no, sorry. Sonic 2 is his best. I'm told Sonic 3 is his best movie.
Yeah, it is good. But I would like to think of all those early ones, Pet Detective and all that, where he's best being an idiot, was all rehearsals to be Eggman.
Yeah.
Because Eggman was the role he was made for.
Yeah.
And he's been Eggman his whole life, but he's been trapped in another body. It's like he was trans Eggman.
So
trapped in other characters.
They call him New Eggs, don't they? There you go. So no, I was chatting to Trey of all people, and he professed his enjoyment, his profound enjoyment of Sonic 3. So there you go. You're in good company.
Well, that's I did not expect that.
He said that he goes 1 and 2 were fine. He goes, they were video game movies, blah blah. Because but three was almost absurdist with how just they let him just go. He just said, I'm just going to do whatever I want, and you're just going to film it. And okay.
There's some emo sad boy scenes there.
That whole movie series has always been emo. But let's wrap it there. I think we've come up 55 minutes. The moral story is, Dermy started us with alternate history. Then we went into my Japan trip. Then we went into Switch 2. Then we went into a bit more general gaming at the end.
I was just trying to get us kicked out of RSL clubs.
So we apologise for any audio issues. We'll be trying to fix it for the future. Dermy needs to learn to talk into the microphone, which is oh my God. It's not that hard. All you do is breathe off, and then when you want to talk, you pull your head forward and you just talk straight.
I don't want to learn new things.
Yeah. It was way better. Oh my God, the leveling on that was nearly perfect. You're killing me. You're killing me. For future, we'll get some pop screens as well, so you don't have to do it. Anyway, on that night,
is that what they are?
Yeah, that's what pop screen. Okay. It stops the air. It stops the air hitting the microphone because they're really sensitive little condensers in there.
Yeah. We're real streamers now. How many subs before we can go hit on young chicks?
Let's not go down that route.
We're getting the microphone and everything.
Yeah. Nice.
Isn't that how it works?
Yeah. Minecraft movie. Skibidi toilet. Riz. All right. That was now that we've hit our allocation of buzzwords.
Skibidi.
We'll be hopefully going back to a.
Fuck's a skibidi?
You know Skibidi toilet?
Kids are weird.
Look up Skibidi toilet. Today's the day that Dermy learned about Skibidi toilet. You seriously don't know about Skibidi toilet?
No. What the fuck would I?
Because for someone your age, 75 or whatever you are, you're pretty dialed into what the kids are on, where like Minecraft servers or like Gary's mod and all that kind of stuff. It's like a Gary's mod thing. I'll show you after the thing. You can just go, what the hell is wrong with people talk about brain rot content? That's brain rot content. And anyway, on that note, Logan Paul, Skibidi toilet, Riz. On that note, we will leave it there.
Is there any toilets?
You'll see. It's like a whole. There's like a whole lore. There's a whole lore behind it. They fight. There's like been a war in the universe and all this. Yeah, I'll show you after this.
Sort of Avengers shit.
Kind of. Well, yeah, I guess because that's how bad Avengers are. On that note, let's go. Let's wrap it up. We'll be back hopefully Thursdays, publishing Fridays.
Yeah, this was supposed to be short.
Yeah, good luck. It's just us two talking for the mics. We will see you guys next time.